Hello and welcome to Vinyl Mango, the video series where I like to say we take a fresh look at album art. Today we're going to be reviewing the project Trip Tape by the alt-rock duo Milky. But before we get into that, like, comment, and subscribe to the video if you'd like to see more. Today on the docket, we're going to be looking at the German alt-rock duo Milky and their project Trip Tape, the first one. So Trip Tape Volume 1. This project was made in for the 2021 North American road trip where they did the radio road tripping series. A labor of love, I would say. They did covers of pop artists, big pop artists like Dua Lipa, The Weeknd, and interestingly enough, Soft Cell's Tainted Love is a cover that appears on the project. There's also remixes and demos. And yeah, it's kind of a little interesting side project or interesting project that they put out. So right away, we see these pink bubbles in a way that draw our eyes, pointing to the figures in the image. The two figures, presumably the band members, are on the cliff. One member has their back turned towards us, while the other has their body towards the other person, but also towards us as well. And it looks like the person is talking to them, perhaps trying to metaphorically talk them down a cliff. Now, the muted pinks of the covers may be trying to invoke a sense of calm, and is also perhaps a metaphor or a visual language for demonstrating thought bubbles and kind of showing introspection. Distance, because one of the things that's really noticeable about on the cover is the distance that we see the figures. So the distance implies that you can see them, but you can't really hear them. So it appears to be like they're having a personal conversation while we're kept at a distance. So the texture of the cover is mixed with cardboard and vinyl, the tape, if you will, and you will see the little white spot there. And at the back, we get a silhouette of a human head, and on the inside of the human head is a hallway of sorts, perhaps, again, to demonstrate the visual language of introspection. The physical record is a translucent blue for the Blue Splatter edition and has a nice weight to it. So the first track off the project is Colorado. It's an upbeat little pop song that's quite catchy, has quite a catchy earworm. Very similar to a early 2000 sound of a rap rock group, the Gym Class Heroes. Lyrics tell the tale of a failed relationship, while the underlying music provides a contrast that seems like the writer is trying to forcefully forget the relationship and push ahead for better times. In an interview with American Songwriter magazine, vocalist and guitarist Clemens Rubin said, quote, "It's about consuming and compensating and being destructive or being weak for a moment. We all need it sometimes, but we also know it probably doesn't bring us anywhere in the long run." And the second track is actually a cover of Soft Cell's Tainted Love. Now, it's an interesting little cover. I'll be honest, I wasn't quite a fan of the cover. It's kind of interesting in a way that it subverts expectations, but it's not overly transformative. It doesn't really add to the song, in my opinion. It's not like No Doubt's It's My Life cover, which kind of like, is this real interesting reinterpretation. It's just kind of almost like an interesting little musical experiment. Now, Cold Summer Breeze, it's pretty psychedelic. It's a refrain. There's this refrain of being out of tune, and again, keeping with this thought of like being in a relationship but being out of sync, right? So it's kind of almost like this theme of this like failed relationship that this person is like dwelling on. Love Again is a dance track with a falsetto, and the distortion kind of adds to it. And so this is a thing about side A, it's like mostly covers, while side B is kind of more demos from what I remember. So track 5, we get another cover, which is La Noche de Anoche. It's a recent song by the artist Bad Bunny and Rosalia, and it was this very interesting, sultry duet between these two Latin artists. And originally, it was a sultry track about two people who find themselves unable to be in this relationship despite this undeniable chemistry. Really interesting because sometimes the vocalist kind of takes the lead, and other times the producer takes the lead. And this is one of the cases where the producer takes the lead for sure. Like, the producer really shines here, taking the song from a pop song and really adding texture and making it seem more like a haunting memory, right? Because the vocalist doesn't have like somebody to duet the song with or to bounce off of. It's just this track, and he's kind of like, again, it's like playing on this idea of memory. So that I found that really interesting. Side A was pretty heavy on the covers. Side B is heavy on the demos, and unfortunately for me was kind of lackluster. Where side A was like a happy marriage of the vocals and the production, side B really tries to let the production speak for itself, but isn't overly memorable. Levitating is a Dua Lipa cover. Again, we're going into the cover territory, and I thought that was kind of interesting. It's almost a hip-hop twist on the song. While the original was a glitzy disco pop song, Milky Chance's version takes on a melancholic tone, and it feels more like, again, someone trying to channel the memory of better times. So the harmonizing adds an ethereal tone, making it seem darker than the original, and it seems more like the after party than the actual party. 7 is probably one of my favorite songs on the project. Spoilers. It's actually a cover of Weeknd's Save Your Tears, which is a great song, fantastically written song. Kudos to The Weeknd for the writing of that song. But the lovelorn Save Your Tears takes an almost Beach Boys vibe almost, and while the Weeknd's version is great, like Weeknd is playing a character that is almost like a caricature of himself in a way, and so the Weeknd's version seems like self-centered and almost to the point of like parody, where this has a sort of almost earnestness from the Milky Chance vocalist, who wishes that their ex would move on to better things, and the acoustic guitar really punctuates that emotion. So like, while the Weeknd is kind of like going through the motions and is feeling sad, but there's this like hint of irony, it's like removing that like wash of irony and just being earnest and being vulnerable, which is like, as much as I love the Weeknd, I don't know how much vulnerability he's authentically demonstrating. So it's kind of an interesting take on the song, in my opinion. Now we got to talk about the B-side, right? So side B. Side B, like I said, it's full of demos. And to be honest, I was kind of disappointed with this side, right? I thought the covers were pretty interesting. I liked what they did, you know, on the production side and on the vocals, and taking these like memorable pop hits and putting their own spin on them. So overall, I wasn't thoroughly impressed with this project. Fans who already like Milky Chance, I think, will dig this project, but I don't think it's going to really bring in any new fans. But yeah, part of this video series is all about exploring new music, or music that I'd be unfamiliar with. And I thought, you know, this is an experimental video series, and I look for projects that have eye-catching artwork, and really you know, go in with an open mind and try to listen to, you know, a band or artists that I probably wouldn't have listened to in the first place, and give it a chance and, you know, divulge my thoughts, right? So for fans who already listen to this band and like this band, I think they'll dig this project. This does feel like a project for the fans, but I don't think it's going to really attract new listeners, other than maybe the Colorado Icarus remix, which in my opinion was a bop. Like, I was definitely like bobbing my head throughout the time listening to that track, and I kind of wish the artist veered more into that direction musically, personally. But that just may be me and my affinity for that type of music. Overall, a decent project, and there are things here to like, particularly production side. Like I said, there are times where you're gonna bop your head or catch yourself singing, you know, there's earworms, and it works as pop music, but while I do appreciate that they try to be experimental, especially for a pop band, essentially, I didn't think it was experimental or abstract enough to be really that intriguing. However, I did enjoy the effort, and I enjoy the love made or what am I trying to say? I enjoy the love for art being demonstrated here. The artwork, while cool, wasn't overly impressive either, but I thought it was slightly interesting or mildly interesting. And yeah, I mean, I think that's what I can overall say about the project. If you liked this video, be sure to check out the rest of the series called Final Mango, where I take a look at different music, different albums on vinyl, and go through the artwork and the music. Like and subscribe or comment about what you think about the video, what you think could be improved, and yeah, hopefully see you at the next one.